Pecha Kucha 152 Frankenstein, the graphic novel, not the book. Although that said, the only person credited on the front of the book is Mary Shelley, author of the original novel. It's another example of a European creation, I think, where it's a retelling of a story that falls outside of copyright. And with the incredibly bold front cover of a black image on a black background, yeah, I don't know about that. It shows up way better in this slide than it actually does on the front of the book as well. It's strange choice. But the story starts with a British adventurer traveling towards, I think it's Antarctica or something, the North Pole. And he's the one who's telling the story. So already I'm intrigued that it's not starting the way I thought it would. And as he's in the middle of nowhere, he comes across an old, almost dead Frankenstein. So the book starts effectively as a mystery, and all of the prose and all of the dialogue, as far as I can tell, is effectively lifted directly from Mary Shelley's book, which I find to be very enjoyable to read. I'm sure you know the story. A scientist decides to make someone out of dead body parts of other people. It's alive. Although I don't think he actually says that. Hollywood has a lot to answer for their interpretation of this story, much to my chagrin. The guy creates the monster. It scares him. It runs away. He goes into a kind of a depression. He gets kicked out of it when he finds out one of his family members at home, one of his younger siblings, has died, so he rushes back home. And someone is wrongly accused. It's heavily implied they're wrongly accused, although, as any trial of the time, if someone's accused, they're almost always going to be found guilty, because this is not, no one's got any CSI skills to counteract the obvious red herrings. Halfway through the book, Frankenstein actually meets the monster in the middle of nowhere. And the monster is incredibly eloquent as he uses very big words to explain the morality of his situation and how he's not a bad guy, and his creator needs to take responsibility for his life problems, which he then explains. He didn't know what the hell was going on. He was living in the woods off of berries and stuff. He was harmless, but people kept running away from him. He ended up hiding in a farm and learning English by basically listening to other people in the farm be taught. He then helped those people out without them knowing, and then he finally went to introduce himself to the blind old man in the hope that they would appreciate him for who he is, not how he looks. Didn't work out that way. The young people go nuts. He lets them, but in his rage afterwards, he burns down where he was hiding, which then burns down where they were living, but they've already left. In trying to find a friend, Frankenstein's monster then kidnaps a child. This is the child that is the younger relative of Frankenstein, in the hope that they won't be afraid. He gets that one horribly wrong, and in his rage kills the kid, and then frames the woman who gets hung for it. Frankenstein demands a partner. He demands Frankenstein build him one. A female Frankenstein, which the scientist goes about doing, and then at the last minute goes, "Fuck this! I'm not convinced this isn't going to be bad for the rest of humanity." He then goes and marries his long-term sweetheart, but before then, he finds himself drifting into Ireland, free from his mental woes, only to find his best friend has been murdered as Frankenstein's monster begins his long-term revenge plans to make his creator suffer as he has. Towards the end of the book, Frankenstein dies, recounting all of this to the sailor who is effectively the narrator of the story, who is telling, sending letters back home. God knows how they get there. To his significant other, and then Frankenstein reveals himself on the ship and has another kind of moralistic argument, full of self-pity and very convincing rhetoric. He's not very violent, except when he's very violent. And then he says, I'm going to go and kill myself because I killed kids and that sucks and I'm a bad person and I hate it. But you made me like this world. It is worth noting that he says he's going to do it and then he runs off to do it. So you can argue there's a loophole and he doesn't kill himself. There's always been a question mark over what kind of morality the monster has. And in the back of the book, there's about 10 pages of just general information about Mary Shelley, her life, her literary peers, where the idea of Frankenstein came from. Also, the success of the story. It was popular within her lifetime, which isn't always the case. I know H.P. Lovecraft was not well regarded and died a pauper. Although I'm not even sure he's well regarded now, but people do make money off his stuff. It just he never did. This kind of stuff really adds to the value of the trade paperback, making it a complete package. And of course, I always enjoy seeing production notes, from the pencils to the inks to the colors. And I do feel the coloring in this book probably makes the art worse. The art's not that good. It's good enough. It's competent, but it's a little. It's not the best. And it's not Sad Clown of the Week, but I just want to talk about it because it's kind of topical. Rocko's Modern Life Static Cling, the Netflix, I guess, special, the one-off of Rocko's Modern Life, popular cartoon from the 90s, Nickelodeon cartoon. Very, very well keeping with the source material. It's pretty much all the same voice actors. It's probably most of the same production crew, to be honest. Very entertaining for what it is, but what it is another episode of Rocko's Modern Life, which I always thought as a less interesting version of Ren and Stimpy. So I enjoyed it, but I'm glad that somebody just sent me a link on YouTube and I got to watch it without having to actually, go about the official channels. But yeah, Frankenstein, the book, is well better than I thought it would be from all the stupid Hollywood stuff and Halloween stuff I've seen in my life. I might have to go read the actual book because the monster itself is very interesting as a character, full of nuance and pathos. So I'm very glad I went to the library and read this, and I'd recommend you read it too. That brings us to the end of Pecha Kucha 152, and I'll see you next time.